We've started. So we have a special guest tonight. You are very fortunate because we have with us one of the original disciples of Srila Prabhupada from the very beginning of the movement. 1966, we have Acyutananda Prabhu here. And we're going to interview him about Srila Prabhupada and also about his experience in the early days of ISKCON when none of us were there and we have no idea what was going on. And even someone like myself who joined a few years later, I had no idea what was going on there. So
we didn't have any idea what was going on either.
So what were you thinking?
I always begin introduction of Prabhupada, what was it like? It was like seeing a man who could be the prime minister of several galaxies. He just, the Buddha, forget it. Prabhupada was absolutely alive. And I don't think we still haven't lived up to his. We should have presidents lined up and demigods lined up at the door waiting to see and give his advice on how things ought to be in the world. We also, after a while, I said this, we were thinking, how do we present this philosophy? What kind of programs? We didn't know Prabhupada had all these programs beyond our wildest dreams. Temple worship, festivals, books, Ratha Yatra. There is maybe it's in some book that Prabhupada met an Indian gentleman somewhere in Pennsylvania, and he said, "Oh, you're from India." They spoke Indian reminiscences and situation, and he said, what are you doing in America? He says, "I have many temples all over America, Canada, Europe. My books are being published, 100,000 here, 100,000 there, in many languages. There's a famous popular singer who is chanting Hare Krishna all over the world." And he had none of it. He said, "It is just a matter of time." So now that I think, what was it like? Maybe we should, present Prabhupada like this Swami or that personality. He had it all ready. It all planned. And as Acharya, it comes up more and more when I think of him. As Acharya represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew past, present, and future. Satta Sankalpa is another quality of Krishna. Whatever he thinks happens. See? I would say in his 11 years of preaching, not a minute went by that he did not do something to advance the spread of Krishna consciousness in the whole world. And we made mistakes because we were reading bogus books about spiritual people who were above the material nature. That's not what it means that you're numb or anesthetized. So we didn't know if he felt pain. We didn't know if he felt sick. We didn't know if he felt high. You are even rebirth is an inconvenient in Bhagavad Gita. It is a temporary inconvenience. But doesn't mean you don't feel it. So we had a high platform. Prabhupada had to step up on it. Every night and day he would be typing with 2 fingers, working on. And then he had a heart attack. And then he told me later in India, and he said, when he had always told us I got very sick on the boat coming over, and then he told me later that after having the heart attack in New York, 66, 67, says, then I realized I had had a heart attack on the boat, alone. Vishwanath Chakrabarti says that troubles that are encountered in preaching are worth 100,000 times austerities of the rishis. And I defy any guy, Vishwamitra, Vishwamuni, Vaishishta Muni. I challenge you to spend one winter on the Bowery in New York in 66, living with a crazy hippie and his girlfriend, and keep your food next to his hamburger, and sleep side by side in 2 beds, separate bed, but he's sleeping with his girlfriend. And Prabhupada said, and sometimes they were not sleeping. So Because when you do tapasya, like we just finished Kartik, you know that tomorrow I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do that. Or the Vashishta, okay, 100,000 years, I'll say, but he knows. When unexpected troubles come in the course of preaching, you don't know what to do. Like a boxer will say, the punch that hurts you the most is the one you don't see coming. See, that's why it's worth so much more than planned tapasyas that are going to get a result. What else? So that's what it was like.
Well, what about, sometimes we hear like in the beginning not much was happening, so Prabhupada's going to the docks, checking the boats. When can I go back?
That was before I knew him, but yes, so a lot of people can, when I come to this, when he was alone in the bower, they said, but he knew, no, he didn't think. He was going, son, maybe I'm not going to make it here. This is hopeless. There's a great book of Prabhupada's diary, 66. Somebody gave him a 1966 year page-by-page diary, and he filled it in. And you see, bus fare, 15 cents. That means he walked the other way. No income. Didn't go out today. Snowing, rain. This, and up the top, he'll write Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Tradasi. So he must have had a panchika. And no, he didn't know. He was going to the docks and saying, when's the next boat going back? And Sridhar Maharaj, he wrote to Sridhar Maharaj, he said, I don't think I'm going to have a mission here. And Sridhar Maharaj wrote back, start a mission in America or die there. So, because Sridhar Maharaj also, there was a standing order from Bhaktisiddhanta that all his sannyasis should preach in the West. And Sridhar Maharaj didn't go. So he felt, I must help Prabhupada. Because I didn't. And by the time that Prabhupada had left, Sridhar Maharaj was very sickly. So he couldn't go. So he felt I have, never completed my Guru Maharaj's order, but Prabhupada will. And Sridhar Maharaj also said, I'm considering Prabhupada as a Shakti-Avesh avatar. And definitely he was. Definitely was.
So what about his, like you're saying, his desire becomes reality. So what about his influence on people that weren't really, we could say, maybe nowadays they wouldn't become devotees, but because he was there. And so how did you see that?
Every devotee wants to see a complete stranger and make him Krishna conscious. Well, Prabhupada didn't make everybody. Everybody who saw Lord Chaitanya did not melt in ecstasy either. Everyone, Krishna was here, and people saw him, wanted to kill him. Constantly wanted to kill him. Others ignored him. So no, the Panda in the Battle of Kurukshetra, isn't he a cousin of Arjuna somewhere? So you didn't see him as Supreme Personality of God. So some in other memoirs, the devotee says, a man comes to Prabhupada and says, can you show me God? He says, no. Another man can you show me God? Yes, here's Krishna book. This is Krishna. Here's his face, here's his qualities. It's described. Another man came, they say you can show God. You become like my disciples. Then, sort of different things. As they approach me, no, but he could see the soul, When there's a self-realized soul, his soul is that the two birds on the tree. One is the Paramatma, one is... but if you turn towards Prabhupada was turned towards Paramatma because he's knowing Krishna. When you look at someone, you have to go through 24 elements of your body to say hello to someone. So Prabhupada's looking at the Paramatma soul, seeing the Paramatma in him, seeing the soul in him, and he can tell. How does he know? How does he knows? Because he's linked with Paramatma. When you have Bhagavan, you have Paramatma and Jiva Brahma Tattva realization also. Prabhupada told someone, if you have $1 million, all your $10 problems are solved. There's no need to separately meditate to get Brahma or Paramatma. Like a story, Jadurani was painting a Vishnu painting. She came into Prabhupada, and because Prabhupada said that the Paramatma is not impersonal. Just like, did I say this already? Harinam is not a something, it's a somebody. Paramatma. or what the Christians call Holy Ghost. It's not a something, it's a somebody, it's Vishnu. Chaturatma expansion of Vishnu. He said it's like seeing the sun disk. Now the sun disk cannot be seen here, but if you have a mirror, wherever you put the mirror, you'll see the sun. If your mirror is clean. Cheto Darpanamaja. Anyway, so Paramatma is Vishnu form. And Jadharani was painting and said, Prabhupada is the, with Swamiji then. Is the Paramatma, you say he's seated in the heart. So is he in a sitting position or a standing position? And I said, oh, that takes thousands of births of meditation to realize. So Jadharani got up to go, looked disappointed, and Prabhupada said, he's standing. So there's thousands of years just by Guru's mercy.
So, in those early days, how did Prabhupada educate people on his position, or did they just come to understand it?
Some came to understand, some didn't, but I also mentioned in a talk in the temple that whenever Prabhupada spoke, the whole philosophy was there. And when you read Prabhupada's books, you'll see, I'd say, any 3 pages of commentary, you'll see every point of the philosophy is touched on, even if it's not the main topic of that verse, of the purport, but every aspect is touched on. So he spread, open arms in that there's open philosophy, that and many devotees will say, you know what, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada did that, Prabhupada said one thing, and that happened. And it's happening with devotees also. I spoke to a man from Brazil, said, how I became a devotee, I was on my way to see a weird movie, and I had $5 in my pocket, and the devotee said, to read this Isa Upanishad. No, I don't have the money. I need it for the movie, $5 movie. She said, this book will blow your mind. I said, all right, here. And then he didn't go to the movie, and it blew his mind, and that boom. And Prabhupada loved when the devotees distributed Isa Upanishad, because he said, if anyone reads that book, they will become Krishna conscious. Isa Upanishad. Mayavadis love to use Upanishads because it appears to be very ethereal, very abstract, and impersonal, but they're not at all. It is I think the word just came to me, thank you. Arundhati. If you look at the Big Dipper, the 3rd star from the handle, there's a tiny star over that. So I just did it. Arundhati Nyaya, logic of following that star is you say, you see the Big Dipper? Yeah, that's not the intended. That is the direction. You see the 1st star? Yeah, it's still not the intended. You see the 2nd star? Yeah, the star next to that. And you see that little star? So the Upanishads lead us to the intended. And then finally, Hiranmayena Patrena Sachisapigatang Mukham. All that light, take away the light so I can see your face. No face, no light. The light is all pervasive. My body's like the all pervasive. No shining face, no Brahma. You have a flower in a room, fills the room with perfume, smell. That's impersonal, spreading all around, all pervasive. No flower, no smell. What is the difficulty? Prabhupada would go like that. What is this nonsense?
What about India?
What about India?
How was Prabhupada different?
Not different. Well, that was when I first came to India. I came to Radha Damodar Temple, and Prabhupada was wearing just no bottom, just the top dhoti tied around the back. Our pujari here wears that, but he also wears a dhoti. Prabhupada didn't have that, so it just comes to above the knee, like that, and he was cleaning some. I mean, he just looked like any one of the other Brajavasis.
But
no Aicharya. There was no grandeur.
When was that? 69?
67.
67.
And
so who was there? Just you?
Acyutananda had gone with Prabhupada 2 months before, and I came in September 67. And Prabhupada had given Kirtana the second initiation and sannyas. Then a few days later, he gave me second initiation, Gayatri.
So what was he doing then? Just recovering?
He was still writing. There were a lot of paperwork to do for correspondence here and there, and I didn't know. And we were invited to God Brothers for prasadam and to see us and to see the American disciples, and his health got better. He showed me how to massage him. His massage was Ayurvedic. Doctor told me to massage him like from the extremities, from hands and feet up, not pull down away from the heart, but towards the heart. That was the massage. So, Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. So that's one of my pet hobbies, is to observe if any devotees have, and myself, have any Judeo-Christian memories that divert us. Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. We think if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't count. Gee, how can this be spiritual life? I haven't sat in a lotus position until my legs have fallen asleep, or I haven't chanted hard enough, or it's not hard. It's very ecstatic and undermined. So a few days when I arrived, that my god brother here is inviting us for prasadam, Jachak Maharaj, and his bhajan was making prasadam for the devotees of all the Vrindavan that would come in, up to 20 people a day. And when I had that prasadam, I said, this can't be prasadam. We thought prasadam has to be made simple and plain. I said, this can't be prasadam. This is the most delicious food I've ever had in my life. This tastes too good. And then there were also in Kirtan. We thought we still had, not just Judeo-Christian, we had also impersonal feelings still to be rejected. Anarthas, moksha. We all wanted moksha then. So we thought that we should also chant without any feeling. Just Hare Krishna, Hare, almost like the Tibetan Buddhists you hear. Oh, no. If they believe in shunya, void, why do they even go no? Why don't they just go? Then how do you tell? Oh, how do they tell that so-and-so is a great Buddhist? Well, he's looking 100 miles into the void, and you're looking 2 miles into the void? Yeah. The Mayavadi Swamis and the Buddhists. Oh, he's so... Well, how can he be anything? Why is he happy? He's supposed to be duh, Why is he making all these Jewish words, the Hanelis? What's with the mudras and the giggles? Why isn't he just duh? Can't tell the difference between catatonic or samadhi. That's their perfection. Because they think when you face Paramatma, or they read that Upanishad, the two birds sitting on the tree, that the Paramatma is, they're themselves better. Their expanded self. It's not So they think, they go this way. They start one step back. They think the two birds is the Atma and the body, or the mind. The subtle body turns to the soul. No, it's the soul turns to the super soul. So they're one step back. Otherwise, the verse doesn't make any sense. They're not that dumb. How did we get to this subject?
You were talking about how when you first took prasadam.
Yeah, and then also the music. Then I could hear the singing, and all different styles. Hindi and the Bengali, the Gaudiya styles also. Then we went to visit. Sridhar Maharaj invited us to his for Vyas Puja, and that must have been November. And so we went to Calcutta, and we met all of Prabhupada's family, his former family, nephews and friends and nieces and uncles, and his brother. His brother looks just like Prabhupada, longer face. There again, you see, his brother didn't become Krishna conscious devotee. His sons didn't become. I met his son once, the one who wanted to inherit ISKCON. You know that? And afterwards, Prabhupada said to me, if he comes again, you might try preaching to him, because when he was a little boy, I put him on Bhaktisiddhanta's knee and said, show him your mercy. And he said, no. And a few months later, also he was there. Said, will you show him his mercy? He said, no. And some months later, he said, will you show him his mercy? Today I show you my mercy. So he said, so maybe he will remember that and listen, but he didn't. And so we went, there's a picture of me dancing with Prabhupada in the courtyard of the Mullik family. Pishima, his sister, was there, who looks exactly like. She's a female edition of Prabhupada in what she looked like. And then we went up to see Sridhar Maharaj in Navadip in his Vyas Puja. And also I'm hearing the songs. So I started to learn more and more Bengali. And and we came back to Prabhupada's, he called it his office in Delhi. We were there sometime. Yeah, he was always okay. He was reading a Bhagavad Gita and on a rough, it was some kind of canvas cover to protect it, which protected it very well. And all it said was Baladev. So it was Baladev Vijayabhusan's commentary on that edition of the Gita. He was reading that a lot. And he spoke to, we were invited to temples all over there, and he was speaking Hindi, and I never really learned Hindi much. And once he just threw his head back and went on for like an hour. And I said, what did you tell them, Prabhupada? He said, I blasted them, he said. But they appreciated it. I found out, I wasn't there, if you ever see a picture of Prabhupada in a rocking chair and all the devotees are laughing, and Toshan is right in the middle, laughing. I said, what did Prabhupada just say? And he said, you're the first person that ever asked me. He says, we had just put on a play of Krishna kidnapping Rukmini. And Prabhupada saw it, and we all sat down, and Prabhupada said, it's better than the book. So they all busted out laughing. So you could never tell what he was going to do. Someone said something about a devotee. He said, where is so-and-so? He said, oh, he's washing his dhoti. And he busted out laughing. And when that calmed down, they said, why were you laughing about Devananda washing his dhoti? He says, you never know why I laugh. About not keeping up with what he was. He also, there were some important Hindu gentlemen in Bombay in their 40s and 50s. And he said, these boys, they're just like my grandsons. He says, my sons are not joining. Also, he wanted more important people. Even there was an article that came out in the Bombay Times or something, and it said, after interviewing Swami's disciples, I think most of them are former hippies. And Prabhupada read that and he looked like this. He wasn't so happy that. And he said, after all, that is secret of success. So, what else? There's so much else.
Well, what did Prabhupada personally encourage you in any particular way, service or to learn anything? Or it also
mostly was kirtan, yes, and learn one of the. First, he said Hindi for a little, because you can preach in the most broad areas of India, but sorry, Hindi, but Hindi doesn't have a very standard grammar. So Lucknow Hindi, Delhi Hindi, Brajavasa, and then it's very similar to Punjabi, Marathi, but the grammars are all different. So it's hard to find one book that you can be understood completely in all these places. So when he sent me to Sri Maharaj, it's in Navadvip, so I learned Bengali. Every morning we would read one chapter Chaitanya Bhagavat, and in the evening one chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you'd probably cover those books in about a year and finish both books. No commentary, just the verses and the songs again. So people say, how did I compile the songbook? From the most common songs that were sung repeatedly at different festivals and everyday events.
And what was their program? Isn't their program Kirtan all morning after Mangalarti? They continue Kirtan?
Yeah. Or maybe it was
Bhajan, Kirtan Bhajan?
Yeah. And then in class, and then we'd break up for different services, cooking, and so on. And then I would go up to Sri Maharaj on the veranda there, and he'd talk to me for a long time, every day, at least an hour. And he was older than Prabhupada and much more infirmed. He would sit in a chair, go to the room, his bedroom at night, and come down to the chair. I don't think he barely would walk on the veranda too much. Almost one eye was closed. Several times there were some serious health problems. Then finally he sent me to Madhav Maharaj's ashram in Calcutta. Then Jayapataka joined me. Jayapataka joined me in Calcutta. And then he sent Jayapataka, so we were preparing to get the land in Mayapur. And money was deposited, and we were there. We went to programs there too.
And when did you get the land? 72? The land was acquired?
I'm not sure of that date. When did Prabhupada come back?
It's because Tamal Krishna Maharaj tells the story. He left the Pandal program to go secure the land. The Cross Maidan program, I think.
So when did I'm not sure of the day when Prabhupada came back to Calcutta with Tamal, Mother Teresa, Acyutananda.
Yeah, so late 70s. I mean, late 1970, like fall
70.
Perhaps.
All right, so 70. Because I'm trying to. So I was more or less alone from 68 to 7, so about two years.
So how did that influence you? You became like a Gaudiya Math brahmachari?
Yeah.
And Prabhupada was writing you at that time?
Yeah, we'd write. Well, then I got more and more. When I was in Madhav Maharaj in Calcutta, so I got more invitations to speak. And by then I could, I think with every new language, at the first year you can understand what people are saying, but you can't. In the second year, then you can speak back, understand the question and answer. So then I was able to preach in Bengali, and most people in Calcutta are educated, speak English. There was a secretary of the federal public prosecutor secretary who took me to so many people's homes, all over and outside Calcutta. Also, and there also you would hear amazing kirtans. Yeah. This was before there was no television in India. People had a radio with a few stations. It was news, Bombay, Bollywood songs, and then sometimes some local folk singing. There were 3 or 4.
So what was the people's impression of you, and what did they know about ISKCON at that time? Were they like ecstatic?
They were ecstatic that there were more. When we had the Ratha Yatra down Kamak Street, that Kamak Street was British. There was still bars. There was the Kit Kat Club from the British, and where no Hindus were allowed to appear there. And when we went down there, they said, a Hindu Ratha Yatra festival on Kamak Street in what they call the civil lines. That's how the British called it. We're civil and you're uncivil. So down civil lines, this was history. So well, you didn't know that, but they were ecstatic to see them because they were being forced many times to become Christian. My devotee and friend in Hyderabad was Parsi. Remember his name?
Ahangsa?
Yeah, he was Parsi, but he went to a Catholic school. And every year, Father Finnegan would come to his parents and say, he's not doing so well. We could give him more help if you were to convert to Christianity. And his father would say, how much you want? And but so they would force them. And they did other things, like when a lady was pregnant, they would hold the newborn child until they converted. It was a big outrage in India over that. What's going on and on. But then there was the Protestant, all the Methodists and Lutherans also joined, and there's the CNI, Church of North India, Church of South India. So we're not going to confuse Indians. Better to convert them without them knowing all the different subdivisions that have happened in Europe over the 30 Years of War and the 10 Years War and all the split of Baptists and Lutheran and Methodist. They're not going to know. So they joined because of language, North India and South India. So there was near Navadvip, there was a Christian Indian man had a baby, and he's, what name do you want to give the baby? He says, I want to name him after God, so I want to name him Jesus. He says, well, Protestants, we don't name our children Jesus. The Catholics name their children Jesus, but we don't. Well, I want him to have the name of God, so I want you to name him Krishna. It's like in reverse, there was some big politician who converted to Islam, and there was a big gathering, and he said, I'm happy to become a Muslim, and I hope in all my future births I become a Muslim. Everybody laughed. He went, oops.
So how long were you in India?
11 years.
Till 78. Oh, 78.
Yeah, 67 to 78.
So you went to Surat the first time
No, I didn't. I'm not sure of that Prabhupada's movements before coming to Calcutta. But when he came to Calcutta, a lot of those devotees weren't there. That were in Surat. I think they stayed there and preached and ate. Good Sharadi food is so delicate and nice. So they liked it. No, I didn't know the Surat preaching.
So you were with Prabhupada and with a few devotees? Handful of devotees?
There was Tamal, there was Madhudvisa, there was Acyutananda and a brahmachari, some other brahmacharis. There was another sannyasi. Prabhupada just created sannyas in America. The sannyasi was doing pujari work. Devananda and me, so yeah. And Jai Pataka was already there with me.
And what were you doing?
They were arranging programs for Prabhupada all over. Only big, and then we started. Then we had a pandal program. And I'm not sure when then Bhavananda I know came, and we had a huge pandal in Delhi, and politicians and wealthy people were supporting big. I know there were some Indians who definitely thought Prabhupada was American. Because sometimes they thought that I was Indian, and sometimes they thought I was American.
Why? Because you could speak Bengali?
Oh, yeah. And even when I was in New York, I would talk Bengali. They go, where are you from? I'm American, but I've been to your great country. No. I met some students in India when I came to Vrindavan. There was Bon Maharaj had a degree college, and they'd say, what country you belong? America. No. Yeah. What village? New York. No. It's like, first of all, it was like coming from heaven, and also, why did you leave New York to come here? We're all dying to go to New York. So there was a gentleman that came several times to talk with Prabhupada in Calcutta. And then he says, you see, Swamiji, in India we have Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. And Prabhupada says, yes, I know that. So why would he say it? It was so out of left field. I said, and I looked at Prabhupada. Kya baat hai? He only could have thought that Prabhupada was American. That this is a Swami with American disciples from America. Well, why would he say it? Stupid thing like that. What else?
Prabhupada's patience in dealing with all the foolish things
Yes.
disciples would do.
Well, one thing I regret, and we all do because we were in the Kanishta stage, is to see the form of the Guru, and we would stare at him a lot. Wherever he moved, we wanted to see him. Of course, he was exquisite whatever he did, but we do a lot of looking. It was very visual. Mayavadi also in the meditation is to meditate, usually on a visual thing. Even Buddhists meditate on the blank wall, but it's still a visual. It's not a hearing thing. So we're looking at him. Does he do this? Does he do that? So it must have been a little rude, to figure out. The first idea is to see the Guru's form, then to hear the Guru's teaching, then your madhyam. Even Jadharani also. I would notice in 26 Second Avenue in the beginning, every time Prabhupada finished prasadam, she would take his plate and clean it. And then she told us after she came to more understanding, said, I used to take Prabhupada's plate to look at the marks he left with his fingers and think that they would tell me something. See? But we all had delusions like that. And, what is the nature of the spiritual master? And she's an artist, so she was probably looking at lines. So, yeah, that's how, first when people ask me, what was it like? It was overwhelming. What was it like? And now it's coming more. What was it like? It was that we were so ignorant of what was coming.
And Prabhupada always stressed,
very tolerant.
He always stressed hearing.
Yes. One time we were playing the instrument. He said, don't play so loud that you can't hear the mantra.
So did he say anything about kirtan?
Yeah, everything. What do you mean?
I mean, specifically.
A little, yeah. What do you mean?
About the process, not philosophically, but technically about kirtan.
Well, I sing out. I have good, I'm not tone deaf. I have melody. But even if you're tone deaf, sing out. You don't care about melody so much. But if that melody catches on and you get 15,000 people to chant, do it. One time Bhaktisiddhanta told a big kirtan singer of his, don't you think, and he pointed to one of the men who had no voice at all, says, you lead kirtan. It's the name of Krishna, not the melodies. Too much music can be distracting. The other day, an Indian said, before meeting Prabhupada, I thought Lata Mangeshkar, the Bollywood singer, was some divine angel from heaven, and then I found out she was just a movie singer. In America, we thought that Ravi Shankar's music was spiritual. We'd sit and meditate. See, it was material. Ravi Shankar told George Harrison, Hare Krishna is not a mantra, it's a name song, like, Ram Ram Sita Ram or Govinda Jaya Yasomati Nanda. It's just a bunch of names put together. He was not a guru. And Prabhupada first said that we were a little, there's another nice thing we can't do. But when you get a higher taste, the lower tastes fall away. What more?
Well, let's see. Anybody have any questions you'd like to ask? Has anybody asked any questions? No. Well, if you want to ask questions, ask. I don't have to be the only one.
Does it say anybody out there?
Yeah, there's a few people on chat. I think there's more people. If you're watching, you want to get on chat, just click the chat button below where you see us, and then you can come join the chat, ask questions.
What else?
Well, your own experience serving in Prabhupada's presence as opposed to serving in separation, the similarities, differences, benefits.
Well, you have to go on your own memories of what Prabhupada did, because the more you put into seeing Prabhupada's message, you'll know he's there. It's not like we bow down to a statue and statues don't talk back. No, it's not like. When we see Murti Prabhupada or remember his teaching or see what the teaching is in any instruction, that's gonna, you'll know what to do. I'm writing my book, and in the end of the book I'm going to have all of Prabhupada's one-liners, Prabhupada's zingers. And the first and the most important Prabhupada, it's called Prabhupada said, ... And the first one, the most important one, is Prabhupada said, study my books very carefully, because after I'm gone, everybody's going to say, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said. So you study very carefully, as it is. He would get very mad at he would let us, before his editions of Bhagavad Gita came out, he said, you can read Dr. Radhakrishnan's book, but don't read the commentaries. The verses are translated pretty good. But on the Manmana Bhava Bhakti Radhakrishnan's commentaries, it is not to the personal Krishna that we should bow down to. Prabhupada was furious at that. Fools and Radhakrishnan, fools and rascals. To make a point of Bhagavad Gita supporting Mayavad, Gandhi's explanation is that it's all a poem, it's all a metaphor. Kurukshetra is the body, the Kshetra the field, and Krishna Arjuna is Atman Paramatma, doubting and then coming. And then the Mayavadis stop at the universal form, because that's the most impersonal. And even Arjuna says, I can't take it anymore, come back into your two-armed personality. They think that's less. And the universal form is good. And that's also good business in temple. See, if there's void, you have what do you put in the temple? So we have universal form. Okay, we can put all the gods. Big Hanuman temple in Delhi has there's Hanuman is the main deity, but every other god is. Shankaracharya also says he lets you worship 5 gods: Shiva, Durga, Surya, Vishnu, Ganesh. Those are the 5, which are to be left once you explode into the Brahman. And then also they claim that also the deities, all these deities, will also no longer be around after the great dissolution. They don't believe in the eternality of Krishna or Vishnu, although it says a million times. They just say eternality must mean a very long time. No, it's eternal. Never was there a time that I did not exist. One more. Nobody, they all want to hear.
Kremlin is thinking of a question.
Who is?
Kremlin.
Kremlin? The Kremlin is watching?
Yeah, he's a Russian devotee living in Texas. He's a teacher.
So, what do we do now? We wait for him to write something?
No, we can. You have any questions, Uddhava?
I was just thinking.
How can that, once the Prabhupada finished, again, one of those complete lectures, said, any questions? And then there were no questions. And how can there be any questions? He really covered everything.
You were talking about earlier the one picture with Koshan Krishna and the play.
They're laughing.
That picture is actually they have a picture of Nalini.
Yes, he has it there.
In the back, and
yes,
a lot
I
of
saw it.
There, like Yamaraj is in the picture, Nanda Kishore was in the picture.
Yeah.
Several devotees.
Yeah, that picture's gotten around in full, but that's what he said.
That's
why they were laughing.
Wasn't Prabhupada sometimes in the mood of just, joking about Mayavad philosophy or joking about...
He wouldn't joke about Mayavadis so much.
Or maybe not joke, but just laugh at the stupidity? Or was he always? Or are you saying he was always?
No, he was pretty disgusted
angry with it.
Yeah, he's always pretty in his angry mood with either by quoting or by logic. If you're walking on the beach, this is I'm paraphrasing. If you're walking on the beach and you see a footprint, you know there's somebody else there. The real enemy coming up now is the atheistic scientists. Hawking's. Okay, so he can measure the huge galaxy and everything. You don't ask him about God. They're asking him, what about God? And he keeps saying these atheistic things. But it's not his business. It's not his business. And it's not their business to... The atheist reporters want to get an atheist, and they know he's going to say, I don't see any evidence of it. And even if they did, the atheist mind, just like I said, Krishna was here. If they had a telescope and they saw Kirodakshak Vishnu, that Vaikuntha planet in the universe, they wouldn't tell anybody. But they're saying more and more that we are just a lump of animated molecules. It's going to lead to hell. So what do you do with a criminal? What's wrong? It's starting with just abortion, just a lump of cells. Well, what about after you're grown up and you abort someone post-birth? Just a lump of cells. Where will there will be no morality. And because they say science and professor in college, they're teaching that this is the big enemy. They're not even Mayavadis. So they're really easy to defeat. However, being so anti-hateful of Krishna and or any idea of deity, you can give them... Don't get into specific arguments with them, because they'll quote all kinds of chemical reactions. And if you give them perfect logic, they still won't go. They still won't accept. Because again, the motive behind it is to kill morality, so that they can sin, to prove that God is dead. Like the scientists say to God, we don't need God anymore. We're going to make our own man and our own creation out of this. And God says, put that down. I created that. You make your own stuff. So them even ask, it's coming, like I said, the 24 elements, to look at another person and say, there is no God. How did you even get here to say that? This animated molecules. This is the big new demon. Not so much the Mayavadis. Abhyaktam vyaktimapanam manyante mamabhudaya. If you think avyakta, impersonal, formless, vyaktimapana becomes form and becomes personal. Mamabhudaya, you're an idiot. Abhudaya, you have no intelligence. Something cannot come from nothing. And what we think is common sense, and a lot of devotees will say, well, anyone with any intelligence, they have intelligence in the modes of the Tamagun intelligence. Books. So it's great. I'm going to put this in my book if I can get the photograph of this. It was in the 50s or 60s. I know his name is Miller, Dr. Miller, physicist, who created, and they're trying to do this again. They're going to try and prove the Big Bang by making a chamber. But there's scientists making the chamber. Intelligent beings are designing. Intelligent design is so similarly, there's the first man who wanted to prove impersonal mechanical creation of life was a Dr. Miller. And there's a great picture, a photograph of him. He made a glass chamber, about this big, filled it with certain chemicals that are believed to be at the beginning of the earth in the clouds, and that there was lightning. So he put a little spark gap thingy in there and passed electricity into those gases, and you could, they said there are amino acids on the side of the inside of the glass, which are the building blocks of protein and life. There's a photograph of him, and in the reflection of that glass vacuum chamber is him, spread all over the world, just like Krishna is spread all over the universe in his Paramatma form, Garbhodakshay Vishnu form, and Mahavishnu form. I like that. It's exactly what it is. There's Mahavishnu lying down, breathes out the bubbles. Now, if I were in this room, breathed out bubbles, there would be a reflection of me on the bottom of every bubble, right? So, reflection of Krishna is a complete Krishna. A complete Vishnu manifestation is Vishnu. A reflection, a shadow of Krishna is a full Krishna personality. So you can see that there's Mahavishnu lying in the bottom of the causal ocean of the material Prakriti, and then every bubble has one, and then inside it and further, and then in every living entity. Sarvabhutana. What is all that?
It's Dr. Miller in the Big Bang.
Oh, that's
you know, in one lecture Prabhupada called the...
That's Dr. Miller coming?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just looking for it.
You're looking for it, okay. It was in the 50s or 60s. It's a black and white picture. But they're doing it now to show the Big Bang theory in mechanics, and they're going to build a chamber with intelligent scientists designing it intelligently, and they go, see, there was no intelligence. It's so silly. What it is they don't want to. They want to sin. So if I finally believe in that there's a creator, does that mean I have to go to church? You know. I mean, I have to marry somebody. It means I can't do this and that. Live like hawks and dogs and camels and monkeys. Prabhupada would say, gosh. But with that higher taste, you won't want to. You won't want to. So this is...
Okay, we've got a question.
Oh boy.
How did Srila Prabhupada feel about American youth?
He said, when he was recovering from the heart attack, he got himself out of the hospital himself. He grabbed the doctor by the two arms and said, I feel all right, I'm going home. And the doctor's jaw dropped because he was not losing a patient, he was losing a customer. And we had a big festival in Tompkins Square Park that Prabhupada could not attend. He was still in the hospital though. And he sent a letter. All you nice boys and girls of America, chant Hare Krishna and get married. I'm here from my sick bed telling you, be good, chant Hare Krishna and get married. Then Hansaduta says in his thing, there was a problem. He said, all the men should be brahmacharis and preach, and all the women should be married. But if all the men are preaching, and who will the women marry? And Prabhupada said, yes, it cannot be answered. It is an unsolvable problem. Papi tapi jatachilo harinama udharilo. So we would papi, who's sinful or austere, harinama will liberate you, will uplift you. So he knew we were all sinful. So that's how he felt.
So what did he encourage more, brahmacharya or grihastha? Or equally?
Well, when I was there, brahmacharya. But after when there were more and more women, he said, I have to accept them. This was a big problem with Prabhupada's God Brothers in India that women are dancing and chanting together with the men in temple. And I said, well, what can I do? Reject them? You know, I have to give shelter. Ashram means shelter. So he started more and more getting married, and many married couples came together married. Up until then, it may have looked like it's only going to be a brahmachari movement. Any more from that question? Is that all right? I see a lot of words I don't know. One says joyfully.
He's saying, my guru said women marry non-devotees. What does that mean? Bhakti and Carol, I don't understand.
I can't read that far.
Well, we have 5 minutes.
Your guru said to marry non-devotees, maybe to make them devotees? It shouldn't go the other way.
Oh, maybe that's the answer to the problem. All the men stay brahmachari, all the women get married, so the women...
And the women preach to marry, make the men brahmachari.
Become a devotee and I'll marry you. Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, unanswerable.
Well, when I said this about Alachua, I think this was also the sociological explanation of how America won the Wild West, was when the women came out. Said, we're going to have church, we're going to have schools, you're going to get rid of that saloon, we're going to have home here, we're going to have farm. And it was the women that got the men to get rid of the Wild West. So I think here, women come here to have families, a school, Gurukul, temple in the center. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
We're done?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.